Warning, today's episode contains spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie or TV show that we are talking about, we highly recommend that you watch it first, then listen to this episode. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Then Is Now podcast. I am your host, Rigor. In this series of special Then Is Now episodes called 13 Days of Hallowtober, we're exploring what are widely regarded as the scariest movies of all time. Joining me again today is filmmaker Joe Lemieux, who has directed The Creeping Paralysis, Veil of Blood, and co-written and produced the romantic comedy The Stoop. He's currently producing a TV show called The Other Side of Midnight with Leanne Rubin as horror hostess Ursula Grimsworth. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Excellent, excellent. We're glad to have you. And today's film is, of course, the classic from 1978, Halloween, directed by John Carpenter.
Halloween night. A small American town. 15 years ago.
Michael?
Halloween.
I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. I think he'll come back.
Exploring uncharted territory.
And totally charted.
Just talk.
Sure. The only reason she babysits is to have
Halloween.
Okay, come on out.
Halloween. The night he came home.
On October 31st, 1963, on Halloween night in the fictional small town of Haddonfield, Illinois, 6-year-old Michael Myers inexplicably stabs his older sister Judith to death with a kitchen knife in their home and is incarcerated at Smith's Grove Sanitarium. 15 years later, on October 30th, 1978, Michael's psychiatrist Dr. Samuel Loomis and his colleague Marion Chambers arrive at the sanitarium to escort Michael to court. Michael escapes by stealing their car and returns to Haddonfield, killing a mechanic for his coveralls, as well as stealing a white mask, a rope, and knives from a local hardware store. The next day, on Halloween, high school student Laurie Strode drops off a key at the still unoccupied and dilapidated Myers home that her father is trying to sell. Michael stalks her throughout the day, and she notices, but her friends Annie Brackett and Linda dismiss her concerns. Loomis arrives at Haddonfield in search of Michael and finds Judith's tombstone missing from the local cemetery. He meets with Annie's father, Sheriff Lee Brackett, and they both investigate Michael's house, where Loomis tells Sheriff Brackett of the danger Michael poses. Sheriff Brackett is doubtful of Michael's danger and goes to patrol the streets, while Loomis waits at the house expecting Michael to return. Later that night, Laurie babysits Tommy Doyle, while Annie babysits Lindsay Wallace across the street, unaware that Michael has followed them. Michael also kills the Wallace's dog. When Annie's boyfriend Paul calls her to come and pick him up, she takes Lindsay over to the Doyle house to spend the night with Laurie and Tommy. Michael stalks Laurie and her friends one by one, and it becomes a struggle for survival against pure evil. So, Joe, when was the first time you saw Halloween, and what was your initial impression?
I saw it when it was on TV. I remember my aunt showing some kind of article, and they showed like a pumpkin on the stairs, and this was back in '78. I heard about this, and she's like, everybody's around the dinner table talking about how scary it was, and the scariest film I've seen in a long time, which kind of perked my ears. And I was like, "Oh, Joey's too young to see it." But I ended up eventually seeing it on TV, and it was quite riveting at the time too. And a very simple story too.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was fantastic, and it's still one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, I agree. It's one of my favorites, too, and I'm pretty sure I saw it in the movies with my parents. I remember being scared in the theater by literally everything about the film. But don't get me started about part 2. That was even scarier, I thought, when I was a kid. But yeah, this movie, Halloween, it's an annual favorite, especially around Halloween. You got to pull this out and watch it, or if it's one of those movies, if it's on TV and I happen to pass by it, I have to stop and watch it to the end.
Oh yeah, same here. What gets me going is the score. The score makes the film that much better.
Oh, absolutely. And the score, of course, is done by director John Carpenter, who not only did he create this iconic Halloween theme, but he's also done several amazing movies. And again, we could do a whole other show on John Carpenter. But just a few of his works are from Assault on Precinct 13, 1982's The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China, They Live, Prince of Darkness, Escape from New York, The Fog. Yeah, I mean, the list is just endless.
Yeah.
And I did hear, actually, he's got a couple of sequels to They Live coming out, too, that are going to be direct to Netflix, which should be interesting.
Oh, wow. Huh.
So John Carpenter, again, inspired by Alfred Hitchcock to the point where he names the character Sam Loomis after Marion's boyfriend in the movie Psycho, whose name was Sam Loomis. And I think, didn't you say Tommy Doyle?
Yeah, it's named after the detective from Rear Window.
That's right, from Rear Window. Yeah, so Carpenter, he basically set out to create an independent film, and I think to this day, it is still one of the most financially successful independent films of all time. Am I wrong?
Yeah, the only other film that surpassed it was Blair Witch Project.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we won't talk about that film.
But Halloween is the first.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just love, there's a lot of funny little things about this movie. Well, maybe we'll go into those a little bit later. So let's continue with the cast here. So we've got, as Laurie Strode, the babysitter, is Jamie Lee Curtis, who is perhaps the greatest scream queen of all time. And she, of course, is the daughter of the original scream queen, Janet Leigh, who was in Psycho. Jamie Lee's another one with a long list of credits, including The Fog, Prom Night, Terror Train, A Fish Called Wanda, True Lies. She was also in the Halloween sequels, Halloween H2O 20 years later, and its follow-up, Halloween Resurrection. As well as, what?
She's also the voice that describes the building of the prison in Escape from New York.
That's right. Yep. That's right. She's the voice. And she's also been in the new John Carpenter's new sequels, which pretty much ignore all the other ones, and it's a direct sequel to Halloween 2, the aptly named Halloween from 2018. as well as the upcoming other sequels, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. And ironically, she was on a TV show called Scream Queens, so I think she's kind of come full circle with being the queen of the Scream Queens.
Well, I think originally she was trying to get herself away from that role, but now she's like fully embrace it because it's popular.
It's lucrative, it's popular, and she wouldn't have a job without the fans. You know, if people didn't love her work.
And her character in Halloween was like very like a typical teenager kind of type thing.
Right, exactly.
But not like her friends at all.
No, she was more introverted, more bookish. Didn't really want to go out, even though she wanted to go out with a boy. She was too afraid to ask the boy out, and then embarrassed when the friend does it.
Ben Tramer.
That's right. Yep, Ben Tramer.
Poor Ben Tramer.
Now, moving on, we have, of course, the amazing horror actor Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis. Again, I mean, this guy we could probably do 2 or 3 shows on. He is a major character actor, particularly in genre films. And I'll just give the short list again because we'd be here all day long talking about these actors. But his films include not only being in all of the Halloween sequels up to and including The Curse of Michael Myers, but he's also in The Greatest Story Ever Told, Fantastic Voyage. He played Stavros Blofeld in You Only Live Twice. He was in the movie Puma Man, Escape to Witch Mountain, and The Monster Club, just to name a few to whet the fans' appetites.
And Great Escape as well.
That's right, The Great Escape. He was in that. Was he in Kelly's Heroes? He wasn't in Kelly's Heroes.
No, he wasn't. That was Kelly
But he
Savalas.
was different.
No,
that's
person.
right. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm in that club
fine.
too, so.
I'm not bald. I just get my hair cut this way. So anyways, we've also got PJ Souls, and I just wanted to mention her because she totally plays Linda, and she totally got the part because the way she always says totally all the time.
No. And
she was
cute too.
She was cute. She was very cute. I was trying to look it up, and I think first of all, I think she is going to be in one of the upcoming sequels, Michael Myers or Halloween Kills or something, or Halloween Ends. I'm not sure, but I thought she was in something along the lines of Rock and Roll High School.
Yeah, she was. She was in that. She was in Stripes.
Yeah, that's right. She was in Stripes. I looked up. I tried to find her in Rock and Roll High School, and it wasn't on the IMDb.
Yeah, she plays Rick Randall.
Okay. Yeah, and she's been around. I think she's still doing stuff. Like I said, she's going to be in one of the upcoming sequels. Nancy Kyes, who plays Annie, was also in Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13, The Fog, Halloween 2. She reprises her role. Actually, Halloween 2 and 3. No, she wasn't in Part 3. I think she had a different part in Part 3.
Yeah, she played a different character.
Yeah, she had a different character.
Tom Atkins' wife, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah. And she's coming back for Halloween Kills.
He got so much action in that movie, Tom Atkins.
Oh my God, Tom Atkins always gets action. He's just one of the greatest character actors ever.
I know, I love him. I met him once at the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival.
Oh, nice.
He showed up at Somerville Theater. Like, is that Tom Atkins? It's like, hey
that's
guys,
awesome.
What's up? like, oh my God.
Where are the chicks at?
Yeah, I know. It's like he's going to get killed tonight too.
Yeah. I interviewed him very briefly at he was at a booth at the Horror Hound in Indianapolis. I think it was back in 2011, and he was just awesome. It's Tom motherfucking Atkins. So what else can you say?
So down to earth too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then lastly, we have Charles Cyphers, who plays Sheriff Brackett. He was also in Assault on Precinct 13, Escape from New York, Halloween 2, The Fog, and he's also going to reprise his role in Halloween Kills. So Carpenter had quite a crew of actors that he would use regularly, like a lot of directors do.
Like a stock company.
Right. Right. And of course, this was still back in the day when actors were under contract with the production companies.
Yeah.
So if they weren't working, they would put them through, classes.
Yeah, definitely. So was Halloween done through AFCO Embassy, or was that through, or was that Universal?
I think Halloween's Universal. Let me.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Real quick here. It is. You mean for distributor?
Mm-hmm. Because I know, like,
Here
The
we
Fog
go.
and Escape from New York were through Avco Embassy.
Compass International Pictures, Falcon International Pictures.
I think it's Compass.
Let's see. So it's got Compass, Falcon International Pictures, and Falcon International Productions. Then there's a ton of distributors: Aquarius, Compass, Astral, Joypack. I mean, there's a huge list of distributors here.
Yeah.
And then other companies include Metro Goldwyn Mayer and Samuel Goldwyn Studios.
Wow.
So, I mean, even the Sci-Fi Channel is listed as a distributor of the film. So a lot of people have had their hands in this film, obviously, because it's so lucrative. Yeah, so the budget for this film was $325,000, and it grossed $47,160,000 in the U.S., and that was also its cumulative worldwide gross, was $47 million. So the return on that is, like, ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Of what they made back, considering. And one of the things that I remember reading about this movie is that even though it's supposed to take place in Illinois, I think they shot it in California, and they had a guy, and his whole job was he had this big, giant, hefty bag full of leaves. He would dump the leaves all over the street and the yards, and then they'd film the scene, and then his job was to go back and rake them all up again, and put them back in the bag for the next scene.
He'd have him drop them into the camera shot out of frame. But in the background, you can see all the trees are still green.
Right.
But no one cared.
No, and I never noticed that growing up. That's one of those details I just never noticed.
There's even the palm trees are out of camera range too. Like the camera, they couldn't turn the camera too far because now and then you'd see a palm tree. So anytime there's a stacked shot, there was a palm tree on the right or the left.
That's hilarious. You got to love that guerrilla style filmmaking.
Yeah, it works.
And I think Carpenter's direction here, every shot is framed just so perfectly. Even, like, from the point of view of Michael, it looks really good.
Like that opening shot there, they used a device before the Steadicam called a pan and glide.
Okay.
And the only person who used the pan and glide before that was Brian De Palma with Blowout.
That's right. But now, when Rocky was, 76? They used they invented the Steadicam for that, didn't they? To follow him up the stairs.
Yeah, there was two devices. There was a Steadicam, and then there was one called Pan and Glide, which are the same.
Okay.
Thing. So.
Right. And that's like, and I think if Carpenter was inspired by Hitchcock, then you could also say that Carpenter influenced Sam Raimi, because as well as George Romero. But I think Sam Raimi also did in Evil Dead, in order to make it the point of view of the Evil Dead, of whatever the monster was. They put a camera, they attached it to the center of a long plank, and then had a person on either side of the plank, walking in the same direction, and it gave that camera that steady kind of glide to it as they went through the woods, from the point of view of the demon.
Yeah, and like the opening shot is like one continuous shot, and people realize that there's no cuts in it at all.
Right. In Evil Dead?
Halloween.
Oh, in Halloween. Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, like once it starts off with Michael's point of view, that's one continuous shot. There might be a cut, but it's done when he goes in the darkness up the stairs. There might be a cut there, and it's the one way you could cut it without making it look like it's a cut. So.
Right, when it's just darkness for a split second.
And I think the pumpkin on the railing on the porch is a plastic pumpkin. They couldn't find pumpkins at that season of the year, I guess.
Oh, too funny. Well, except for the one that Tommy Doyle has, and that scene always bothered me, especially when I was a little kid, when the bullies are bullying him, and they're going, the boogeyman, and they trip him, and he squishes his own pumpkin.
Yeah, I'm sure they could find one.
That was like the one last pumpkin in the county or something.
Yeah, that thing's riveting, and the kid runs away, and all of a sudden Michael just grabs a kid.
And did you ever notice? Oh, say that again?
When the kid's running away after picking on Tommy Doyle, and Michael just grabs the little boy by the shoulders, and the kid just stares in his eyes.
That was scary, and that's before he has the mask.
Yeah.
That's a really effective scene. We'll return to 13 Days of Hallowtober after these messages.
Prepare for a spine-tingling, nerve-shattering podcast featuring all your favorite monsters. You won't believe your ears when you listen to Monster Kid Radio. Hear your host, Derek M. Cook, and his ever-rotating stable of guests discuss your favorite classics and sometimes not-so-classic monster movies. Subscribe to Monster Kid Radio through iTunes or Stitcher, or visit monsterkidradio.net before the next weekly episode of Monster Kid Radio. Go through the archives for interviews with Sarah Karloff, Victoria Price, and Joel Hodgson. Listen to discussions about movies like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Island of Terror, and King Kong. And don't forget convention coverage from Monster Bash and the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. Classic Monsters, Modern Talk, and the head of Rondo Hatton. Only on Monster Kid Radio.
Hello, this is Rod Barnett. I'm the host of The Bloody Pit, the podcast that examines films from across the decades. On The Bloody Pit, we have several ongoing series of shows within the show focused on specific things in genre cinema that I and my co-hosts find fascinating. There's a long-running series focused on Italian maestro Antonio Margheriti's films from the 1960s all the way up through 1990. There's an on-again, off-again series focused on 1970s science fiction films. There's an in-depth look at the Western movies that William Castle made before he struck out on his own and became the horror auteur that we know and love. A look at the classic Coffin Joe films from Brazil. And our long-term project to look at every Universal horror film made in the 1940s. That's a long project, people. It's going to take us a long time. Sprinkled in amongst those are various other episodes focused on other stranger areas of cinema, like Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento, and even some obscure British crime films from time to time. So join me and my rotating crew of co-hosts as we examine the stranger side of cinema through an exploitation lens. Except when we don't. Yeah, you never really know exactly what to expect on The Bloody Pit. So join me for The Bloody Pit.
Hey folks, I just wanted to take a minute here to tell you about the hosting service that we use at Haven Podcasts. Podserve.fm. Podcast hosting has never been easier. They do all the work to get your podcast on Apple Podcasts and other major podcast networks. They help you navigate the podcasting world, whether you're brand new or have years of experience. Folks, I can't tell you how happy I am with their service. When I first started this podcast, I searched around intensely for the right hosting platform. I found Podserve and used their simple 4-step process, and in a short amount of time, my podcasts were on the internet and available through all the major podcast networks. And their customer support is unreal. Every time I goof things up and make a mistake, like posting the wrong show to the wrong feed, I email them, and I kid you not, within minutes I get a response and the problem is resolved. And they're the only podcasting host that actually helps you get listeners. Other podcast hosts stop at podcast upload and don't help promote your podcast. Well, Podserve makes sure your podcast is seen by thousands of people. The promotion is free, and they put you on podparadise.com, which has over 5,000 visits a day from avid podcast listeners and is growing every day. Each day, Pod Paradise selects 5 podcasts to spotlight on their front page. Maybe yours could be there soon. Podserve's pricing is simple. Only $19 a month. That's it. No tiered pricing platform, just one low fee. For $19 a month, you get unlimited storage, unlimited podcasts, free podcast promotion, your podcasts on all platforms, detailed download analytics, one-on-one customer support. You pay month to month, and you can cancel at any time. And when you sign up, you get 14 days free. You don't even have to give them your credit card. I love their service so much I put a reminder in my phone to add my credit card when the 14 days was almost up. I couldn't give them my $19 fast enough. I'm telling you, I really didn't believe it until I actually signed up and saw my podcasts on everything from iTunes to Stitcher and Spotify and more in a ridiculously short amount of time. So if you've got a podcast and you don't have a hosting platform, I highly recommend podserve.fm. Check them out. One thing I did love about this, and it was a little bit into showing... it was a little bit prescient for Carpenter's career, is that Lindsay is watching the original Thing on TV, The Thing from Another World. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and for him to do it later on, too.
And it was... What's your name? Yeah, well, that's just it. That's what I was saying. It was prescient, because I think he had really wanted to remake that movie. So it was just... And he just was building his way up to doing that, which, of course, I think is his greatest accomplishment.
There's other coincidence too. John Carpenter's first movie he did was an Elvis Presley movie starring Kurt Russell.
That's right. Yep.
And Kurt Russell was in an Elvis Presley movie as a little kid.
That's right.
And Elvis Presley's character's name was John Carpenter.
Oh, that's funny. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's like it was meant to be.
That's crazy. That's like the Kennedy Lincoln thing. That's so bizarre.
Yeah. That's better.
What was it? Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy, and Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. I don't know. That's a whole other story.
No, it's like Lyndon Johnson or Johnson. I think it was Kennedy had Johnson and Lincoln had Kennedy or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird. But anyways, getting back to Halloween. So every scene in this movie is masterfully done, and I just loved the pacing. I thought the pacing works. I think everything about this movie works, and I think that the scares still are effective to this day.
Oh, definitely. And I heard also that before he could get Donald Pleasance, he thought of getting Christopher Lee at one point.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. That would have been interesting.
But he was afraid that people might think it's a vampire movie.
Right, because people are so stupid.
I don't know. When's he going to turn? Oh, he doesn't turn. This movie sucks.
Yeah, but this was a vampire movie. Even though it's called Halloween. Now, it's interesting that he produced this in Halloween 2, and I believe Carpenter also produced Halloween 3, because the original intent was to have it be a movie called Halloween, but be a different story every year.
That would have been brilliant if the studio got behind it. But
right, but the first one was so successful, they clamored for an actual sequel rather than a completely different story. So Halloween 2 came out, and that did pretty well, and by the time Halloween 3 came out, people were not expecting it to be a completely different story than the Michael Myers, and I think unfairly they disparaged that movie for years, because I think Halloween 3 is also an effective horror movie.
Yeah, I love it, and I mean it's got the same score. I mean, not same score, but just like Carpenter and Alan Holdsworth did the score.
And Tom M.F. Atkins is in it too.
Yeah, I know. And what's his name? O'Herlihy or something? Dan O'Herlihy, who was in RoboCop.
Oh, Dan O'Herlihy. Yep, he was in RoboCop.
Yep. And he plays an alien, the Last Starfighter, directed by Nick Castle, who is The Shape.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was Centauri. No, Centauri was Robert Preston, but he was one of the. Yeah, he was definitely Dan O'Herlihy. Was one of those guys.
Yeah, he was Grigg.
Grigg, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think there was like a relationship between him and Nick Castle, other than The Shape, because in The Fog, Tom Atkins plays a character named Nick Castle.
Oh, weird.
So there's like a 90 degrees of separation or something. I don't know.
Right. Right. But I think effectively, they all do a great job. And one of the things I love about this movie is especially the ending where Loomis shoots him. Michael's about to kill Laurie. Loomis steps in finally and shoots him 4 or 5 times, to the point where Michael falls off the porch onto the backyard.
Yep.
And Loomis is talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, that was the boogeyman, wasn't it?" And he's like, "As a matter of fact, it was." And then he goes and looks over, and he's gone, and he doesn't react. His eyes widen, but he doesn't say anything, Loomis. And Laurie just knows from his not doing anything that Michael's gone, and she starts to burst into tears. And I just love that whole, they didn't have to talk to communicate.
Yeah, and in the Pleasance character, like, he wasn't surprised because he expected it.
Yeah.
It's like, he can't kill evil. And there was also no exposition of why Michael was evil. He was just pure evil. That was it. I mean, nowadays, everyone over-explains everything. You don't have to over-explain everything. You don't have to
exactly. That was just it. It was...
Yeah. Like, he's evil. That's it.
You're right. In fact, I think outside the film, they refer to him as the Shape.
Mm-hmm.
When the film was described.
Yeah, he was just called the Shape at one point.
Although I did think that the Rob Zombie remake, as much as I'm not a huge fan of remakes, I think Rob Zombie's remake was just as good. I mean, it was pretty much beat for beat the same as the original, except they deepened the character of Michael and kind of gave a little bit of an explanation as to why he...
Yeah, like his abuse and mom being a prostitute and whatnot.
Yeah.
But even like in Halloween 2, Donald Pleasance's expression is more theatrical and kind of annoying. Because the first one, he's kind of like looking around for him.
Yeah.
And in the second one, his mouth is agape, like oh my God, he's gone. Like it's supposed to be a direct sequel. It's supposed to pick up where the last one off, and they should just use the same scene.
Right. That's true. Yeah, and he definitely, I think he also hams it up as the movies progress. You know, in part 4, he's just running crazy. You know, I'm telling you, Michael Myers is in this town.
But even in the first one, he would just lurk, like in bushes and stuff. It's like, oh, just stay here. He'll come back. And then you don't see him for a while, and all of a sudden he pops out of the bushes again. Like
yeah.
Was he taking a leak or something?
In that scene where he's hiding in the bushes and the kids are going up to the Myers house, and he hears one of the kids' name is Lonnie, and he's like, "Hey, Lonnie, get your ass out of there!"
Out of there.
And they run screaming from the house.
What shows him having fun with Halloween at the same time? Like,
yeah, that's true.
And then you see the shit-eating grin in his face, and all of a sudden this hand grabs on the shoulder, and it's the sheriff scared. So he gets scared himself.
Yeah.
Like, oh, jeez.
Now, the Michael Myers mask itself was originally a William Shatner mask, right? And they ripped off the sideburns and cut the eyes bigger?
Yep, and they painted it white.
Yeah. Oh, and they painted it white. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. I wonder what Shatner thinks.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't give a shit. I'm sure he'd be honored, if anything, especially now.
Yeah.
But originally it was supposed to be a clown mask. Like, that's why they had young Michael, wear the clown mask in the beginning, because it was supposed to be a clown. And they're like, it's like, oh, that's creepy. It's like, because there was the director of Part 3 did the mask for the first one.
Oh, okay.
But he put the mask on and walked in with the white mask, and I was like, ooh, that's even more scary because there's no expression at all.
Yeah, I don't think they could have pulled it off with a clown mask. I think there would have been some laughable scenes.
I think so, too, yeah.
I think this was more effective because it was nondescript. And, I mean, I suppose the same thing could be said for a clown mask, but it doesn't emote. So I think that's, even like Jason's mask, that's what kind of makes them even more scarier is because they don't emote. But I think a clown motif, while they pulled it off effectively in the movie It, he was a clown rather than a guy wearing a clown mask.
And I think Michael's uniform is with the gas station jumpsuit or something.
Yeah, he steals the coveralls from the gas station guy.
That was because that scene where they find the gas station guy and
he's a tow truck driver, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's like near the train tracks, and they find the matches from the car for Red Rabbit Inn or something.
Right. And then,
but the scene was kind of big because like you could stay back there. It's like, is he naked? Is that why?
Well, because the camera pans and you just see the guy laying in the bushes, but he had a T-shirt on, I think.
Yeah.
But Michael just took the overalls because he had the coveralls because he had the Johnny from the hospital on.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. Can't be walking around with his thing hanging in the wind.
Right. Now, there's quite a few iconic scenes in this movie. In particular, you've got the Judith Myers gravestone, where it's was it Annie that was in the bed?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, wow, yeah, that's right.
Judith. I remember as a kid that confused me because I don't know, being a kid, I was like, wait, is that Judith in the bed? I thought she was dead and all that, but obviously it wasn't. It was the gravestone from that they discovered being missing earlier.
Yeah, so it's like, wow, he must be really strong. Like, did he carry that under his arm? Just walking through the neighborhood, like, nothing to see here.
Right, it's just a decoration.
Yeah. That's probably what people thought.
Exactly. How did he get that? I mean, unless he did it in the cover of Night.
I like where he's with the graveyard guy, and the graveyard guy is talking about other lores. Like, it's like, oh, I remember over in Russellville, this guy kissed his wife on the head and his children. He picked up a hacksaw and was about to, and all of a sudden they get back to the story.
Right, yeah.
It's like, someone needs to do a movie about that.
I know, kidding.
Over in Russellville.
A prequel. That's so funny. And then there's a few other iconic scenes in here where Michael kills the boyfriend and puts the sheet on his head and puts the glasses over the sheet.
Yeah. Which it's effective. It could have gone over pretty bad too at the same time.
Right. That to me as a kid, that was one of the scariest scenes ever. Just seeing him standing there with the glasses, knowing that it's the killer pretending to be the kid who is, impaled somehow with a kitchen knife up high in the cabinets.
Of course, when he does that and he lets him hang on the wall, he's like tilting his head back and forth, like looking at like he did artwork or something.
Yes, yeah, I thought that was an interesting effect, actually, or an interesting character affectation, because there's almost like a childlike curiosity in that tilt.
Mm-hmm. And also, most people don't know there's hardly a drop of blood in the entire movie.
That's true.
It's very reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which hardly had any blood too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's come up. It's come up quite a bit on this show in terms of, these movies. People walk away seeing more than they actually did see, thinking they saw.
The blood's in their mind, so that they end up, it's so bloody, and then you see them like, there's not a drop of blood.
Right. So let's wrap it up here. Give us your final thoughts on Halloween, and do you think it's still effectively scary?
Oh, definitely. And it's whenever you think of the holiday, you think of that movie. So, like, when people say, like, when you think of, like, oh, I can't wait for Halloween, like, what, the movie or the holiday? Like, both.
Right.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's timeless. It plays into all the stuff like the boogeyman, or you don't know if he's out there, and he can't be stopped. He's like a force of nature.
Right, exactly, and it definitely holds up, I think.
Definitely.
I just watched it again. I think I've seen this movie well over 100 times now.
I mean, other than the clothes, there's not much in it to say it's 1978. There's no music at that time period, other than Blue Oyster Cult, Fear the Reaper.
Yep, Don't Fear the Reaper, that's in the background. And the fact that there's a horror TV host on the TV, and the telephones. Yeah. The telephones kind of give it away.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's almost as timeless as, like, Jaws, because Jaws, other than the clothes and the vintage stuff, it doesn't feel like it takes place in 1975 or just 78. So.
And I think that's a sign of a good story, is that it doesn't matter what time period it takes in, as long as you can relate to some of the characters and you can enjoy what's going on,
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I agree. I think this movie is a classic. Like I said, it's a perennial classic. You got to watch it every October at the very least. And like I said, if it comes on the TV and I'm flicking channels and I see it, I have to watch it to the end. In fact, I think that happened to me twice this month already. Damn you, AMC. Okay, Joe, so thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll have you back on the show again. We'll talk about maybe something different next time. And it was great fun.
Same here.
All right, take care.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Thank you. Well, we hope you enjoyed this special edition episode of Then Is Now called 13 Weeks of Hallowtober. If you want to chime in on today's show, please send us an email at thenisnow42@gmail.com. And you can also check out our website, havenpodcasts.com. And we have another show called The East Meets the West, where we discuss spaghetti westerns and Shaw Brothers movies. So we hope you check that show out as well. As always, please leave us a review on iTunes so that more people can find us, and spread the word about Then Is Now. Join us again next episode.
This podcast is intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is copyright Carpenter Media.